Today we'll learn how to use the triple beam balance. The triple beam balance is used to find the mass of an object. I'm going to point out the key parts to the triple beam balance. You have the adjustment knob, you have the measurement tray, you've got the 3 rider beams and the 3 riders that move along those beams. You have a pointer, and you have the 0 mark where the pointer must line up with. Okay, the very first thing you do when you come to your triple beam balance is you have to calibrate it. Now please remember, you're only going to calibrate it once. Once you have it calibrated, raise your hand so I can come and make sure it's correct. Because if it's not, all your answers that you arrive at will be incorrect and you'll have to redo the entire lab. So it's very important to take your time when you're calibrating. Okay, I'm going to move in a little bit closer so we get a little bit better eye on everything. Okay, now what we must first do is we need to move all the riders to the 0 mark. Now you can see there's little indentations, little notches on the back beam and the middle beam. As you slide them along, you'll hear them click into place. You need to slide the 10 rider all the way back to the 0 mark and feel it click into place. Do the same thing with the middle beam, which goes by increments of 100 grams. And the very first beam, slide the rider all the way over, and there's a little pointer on there, right there, and slide it so that that pointer is pointing right down at 0. Okay, now you can see the pointer came up, and if I look close at the pointer and the 0 mark, you can see that I'm slightly, little bit off. So what I need to do is I need to use this adjustment knob, either turning it up or down, so that I can adjust the pointer. Okay, so what I'm going to first do, since this arm is down, I'm going to turn the knob up. I'm going to turn it in this direction. Since the pointer's above, I need to turn it down. So I'm going to come down this way. So I'm going to turn the knob, quarter turn. It looks like I overdid it. So now I'm just going to kind of move this over here just so you can see what it kind of looks like. So then I'm going to move this, turn this up just a little bit, and it comes back up. Let's go over here and see how I did. And oh boy, that looks pretty darn good. Okay, I would say that is calibrated. It's at this point that you will raise your hand, and I will come and I will look at it at eye level and tell you whether it passes the test or it needs to be more accurate. Okay, we say that looks good. Now what we have to do is we are going to find the mass of our very first object. So the very first object I'm going to use is going to be this cup of pennies. So I'm going to put this cup of pennies on the measurement tray. Obviously it goes down. Now the very first thing, the first rider you will always move is the hundreds. So I'm going to move it to the 100 and it should click into place, and that's really important. When it slides over, it has to click into place. Do you hear the click? Now I know it's exactly at 100 grams. And since it didn't come down, that tells me that this cup full of pennies is more than 100 grams. Now I'm going to slide this rider over to the 200 mark. Let go. It did not go down. That means it's more than 200 grams. Now I slide this over to the 300 mark. Let go. It went down. That tells me that the mass of this cup of pennies is between 200 and 300 grams. So what you do next is you must bring this back. Okay, so I know it's more than 200 grams. Now I need to move the rider in the back, the one that goes up by increments of 10. I slide it over, nothing. Now each time you slide it over, you're not just randomly going like that. No, you have to slide it into place. So I kind of lift it up and slide it into place. Okay, so far it looks like I'm more than 230 grams because it has not come down yet. Okay, I'll slide it over again. It still hasn't come down. That's 240. And I'll slide this over. Oop, and it just went down. So I'm just going to give you a different viewpoint. It went down at 250 grams. So it's less than 250 grams. So what I'll do is I will slide this back and see how it came up. It came back up. Now I know it's somewhere between 240 and 250 grams. So the next I have to do is I need to move the rider in front. Now you can see these are increments of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10 grams. It says the G right there, grams. In between each number are 10 increments. So those are 1/10 of a gram. Those are a decimal point. So 1/10 of a gram. So now what I need to do, and this usually works best for me, is I use my pencil, or in this case happens to be a pen. You guys always use pencil. I start sliding the rider over, and you can see that it's starting to go down. I'm going to slide it just a little bit here so you can see the arm, what's kind of going on. And what it happens is this. I need to keep sliding this over until the pointer is pointing directly at the 0 mark. Then I know that is the correct mass. Okay, so I'm going to keep sliding over here. Oops, now that looks like it's too much. So if it's too much, not a problem. I just slide this back. It's come up a little bit. These are very touchy. And just a hair more, I think it has to come up. Oh dear. There we go. I think that looks pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Maybe a hair more. Okay. All right. Looks pretty nice. All right, now we have to figure out what is the mass of this cup of pennies. What's the mass of that? Okay. What I will do is now I'm going to add up all three riders. So I can write down 200, 40, and then in front, so I have 200, 40, like that, 240. And then in front, if I look close at this, and if I look at this little pointer right here, and I think it has to just come just a hair this way. If I look straight on from that, oops, right here, you can see that it's between the 1 and the 2. So it's not 1 and it's not 2 grams, it's actually in between. And now you have to look at this little mark here and see where is it pointing. Well, halfway between the two would be 0.5, and this seems to be 2 more over from 0.5. So therefore it's 1.7. 1.7. So I write it like this, 1.7. See if that makes sense. So 200, 40 in the back, and then in the front was 1.7. And then when I add all those up, I get 241.7 grams. And that would be the answer, 241.7 grams. And that's how you'll do the mass of all these. Now, let me tell you this. When you would do the next object, what you would simply do is you would take off what you're finding the mass of. You move the riders back to the 0 mark. And then you do not, I repeat, you do not calibrate it a second time. You've calibrated it once. That's the number we got, and we're going to continue to be consistent along the whole way. So all you would do, let's say I want to find the mass of this apple that I got from one of my students. I'll set it there and begin the process again, first moving the hundreds, the tens, and the ones. And that's how you find the mass of an object using the triple beam balance. And the last thing, please remember to raise your hand so I can see your calibrated triple beam balance. Once I give you the okay, you don't calibrate it again. And finally, make sure when you're moving the riders over that they click into place. And that's how you have success with the triple beam balance.